Samsung just did something that nobody was expecting. And honestly, Qualcomm might be sweating a little right now. Because the new Exynos 2600 is not just fast, it is crazy consistent. Like, I don't care if it's hot, cold, or stressed, I'll still perform kind of consistent. And that is a big deal. Let me break this down in very simple terms. Most chips today are like this. They start strong, then after some time they slow down. Heat comes in, performance goes out the window, FPS drops, benchmarks become a roller coaster. But the Exynos 2600, this chip said, nah, we don't do roller coasters here. Fire benchmark consistency, the real shock. So people started looking at Geekbench 6 OpenCL scores. This test mainly checks GPU power. And according to an aggregation shared by @ByroGrande, the Exynos 2600 showed only 3.4% difference between its lowest and highest scores. Let me explain why that's insane. Usually, benchmark scores jump all over the place. One run, high score. Next run, lower score. Another run, even lower. That means the chip is struggling with heat or power limits. But here, Exynos 2600 is almost flat. Very stable, very calm, very confident. Most of the scores are sitting above 25,000. Scores below 25,000? Very rare, almost missing. Meanwhile, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is not doing that well in consistency. So yeah, Samsung quietly pulled a flex here. Why consistency matters more than peak power? Let me say this clearly. I don't care if a chip hits a crazy high score once. What I care about is, can it do that again and again? Because in real life, you don't open a benchmark for 10 seconds and close it. You play games for an hour, record videos, edit photos, use GPS, scroll social media endlessly. If performance drops after 5 minutes, then what's the point? And this is where Exynos 2600 is looking very strong. The secret sauce, 2nm GAA explained simply. Now, let's talk about why this chip is so stable. First big thing, 2nm GAA process. No fancy words, simple explanation. Older chips use transistors that are harder to control when they get very small. Samsung's gate-all-around is different. Think of it like this. Old design, gate touches the transistor from a few sides. GAA, gate wraps around it completely, like hugging it from all sides. What does that do? Better control, less power waste, less heat, more efficiency. So the chip doesn't panic when things get intense. It stays cool, it stays stable, it stays confident. GPU, AMD inside, Samsung outside. Now let's talk about the GPU. The Exynos 2600 uses Xclipse 960. This is special because it's based on AMD RDNA 4. Yes, the same AMD DNA you see in PCs and consoles. But Samsung customized it for phones. And guess what? It's the first mobile GPU using RDNA 4. This isn't some recycled old design. This is fresh tech, and it shows. Beating Snapdragon X Elite on a phone. Here's the wild part. A Galaxy S25 Plus with Exynos 2600 reportedly beat the Geekbench OpenCL score of the Galaxy Book 4 Edge. Let me repeat that. A phone beat a laptop running Snapdragon X Elite. That sounds illegal, Dropbar. Now, yes, benchmarks are benchmarks, but still, that is not normal. You don't expect a phone chip to look stronger than a laptop chip. That alone tells you this GPU is no joke. Cooling, the unsung hero. Now here's where Samsung really got smart. They didn't just make a fast chip, they made a chip that can stay fast. Two big technologies here. One, FOWLP, fan-out wafer-level packaging. Simple explanation. The chip is packaged in a way that spreads heat better. Heat doesn't get stuck in one place. Performance stays stable longer. 2, HPB, heat pass block. This one is cool, literally. HPB is a copper heat block and it touches the chip directly. No middleman, no excuses. Samsung says this improves thermal resistance by 16%. Translation: heat escapes faster, less throttling, more consistent performance. Basically, Samsung said, let's not fight heat later, let's kill it early. Snapdragon's problem right now. Now, don't get me wrong, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is very powerful. Very powerful. But power without control is like a sports car with bad brakes. From what we're seeing, Snapdragon scores jump more, bigger gaps between runs, less stability under stress. That doesn't mean it's bad, it just means Exynos is doing something smarter this time. And that's shocking because it's Exynos. Yes, this is the same Exynos brand. Let's be honest, Exynos had a bad reputation. Heating issues, battery drain, worse gaming. People used to say, if it's Exynos, don't buy it. But the Exynos 2600 feels different. This doesn't look like Samsung rushing a chip. This looks like careful design, focus on efficiency, focus on real-world performance, not just numbers for marketing slides. Benchmarks don't lie, but they also don't tell everything. Now, quick reality check. Benchmarks are important, but software optimization matters. Cooling inside real phones matters, game support matters. But consistency is usually the first sign of a good foundation, and Exynos 2600 has that foundation. What this means going forward. If Samsung keeps this up, Exynos might finally compete properly. Qualcomm won't be comfortable anymore. Phone makers get more options, users get better performance and battery. And competition is good for us, because when companies fight, we win. Final thoughts. Exynos 2600 isn't screaming for attention. It's just quietly saying, I'll perform, every time. And honestly, that's more impressive than chasing the highest score once. If this consistency holds in real-world gaming and daily use, Samsung might have just rewritten the Exynos story. And Qualcomm, yeah, they should definitely keep an eye on this one.